Kamala Harris went on Fox News last night. You'll hear from Bret Baier about the timing of the interview when it was recorded, because he's very upset in just a second. But
unprofessional, I would say, but whatever.
I mean, he's supposed to be, Bret Baier, the straight up news guy on Fox News, the less partisan one. The one, you know, he's not Sean Hannity or Jesse Waters. He's supposed to be an actual journalist. But throughout this interview, it's so clear how right-wing he is. The first 15 minutes were him repeatedly interrupting her, going like about immigration and acting like the country is under siege right now. And then when they had this tense back and forth about it, then he's like, okay, next big topic, trans surgeries in prisons. And these are the two ads that Republicans have been running basically against her, is that she's soft on the border. And you see this all throughout New York State in particular, that she supported a trans person having gender affirming care in prison. Like, this is just,
bro,
who cares? And what's amazing is that there has been a lot of work done to show that in 2022, and even prior to that, anti-trans fear-mongering was a net negative for Republicans. But because this strategy is being run by a rich narcissist, and Elon Musk is also spending millions of dollars with his PAC on behalf of Trump, their fixations and obsessions become extremely prominent in the Republican strategy.
And in the sense of Elon, it's very personal.
Truly. And so it was bizarre to see this display. And in part, this was an interview that happened because Trump refused to do the Fox News debate. So then they decided to go through with a straight interview of Harris on Fox. But this was the Fox debate that Trump said he wanted. And then he ended up backing out of it because, frankly, him doing another debate this close to the election would only hurt him. So he knows this, and his handlers know this as well. But this was...
The farther they've gotten from the debate, the better he's looked.
Truly. So that was basically the first 20 minutes of the interview. Now here, Baier tries to bait Harris into doing a deplorables. This was so naked and obvious to me. He previously, before asking this question, had showed a poll that the majority of Americans think the country is on the wrong track. This has been kind of a consistent poll number throughout Trump, throughout Biden. There's a lot of pain in this country.
Yeah, I feel like before, like the whole like Bernie 2016 movement, like I think there's a lot of people who probably felt then.
Right. I mean, this is just, you can't really, I think...
who likes this track?
Right. Republicans and Democrats, we're all pissed off. So he asked her about this, and this is midway through Harris's answer, and we'll get to where he tries to bait her in a few seconds.
And I included a little bit of him.
About is that over the last decade, people have become, but listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances, and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk for anyone.
So are they misguided, the 50%? Listen, are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall.
Oh, good.
And this is how he responded.
I heard about
Clean up that mess.
They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you.
I'm telling you, that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes.
Okay.
Let me...
Okay, yeah, he's quoted. Are you trying to, or what's the implication? You're trying to say that Bob Woodward made it up?
That's amazing that they would like have him sort of clarify the remark and not actually just play the thing he's been saying, including to Bloomberg, which is like, yeah, we'll have the military come in and get these far left people out of here.
It was outrageous. I mean, look, it's Fox News, but when Bear or Martha McCallum come out, like I've seen them do debates and moderate them. It's never really that explicitly right wing. They try to maintain their credibility to a certain degree. I think they're worried, but I also think that I thought that was one of her strongest moments in a while, because what I'm observing about her and what her strengths are is like when she has to sell policy, it's kind of difficult for her. Yeah. I feel like she's very self-conscious and studied.
Not the retail politician.
No, but when she gets to be combative, this was what we saw in the debate, which was her strongest moment of the campaign. When she gets to be the prosecutor and go back and forth with somebody, that's where she shines. And so this was a good answer. And also, you see, like she was appealing to a Republican audience with all this flag waving about the American people and all these kinds of things. I think it's effective, at least for what she's going for here.
It was. And I don't know if you saw it, but Crystal Ball and Sagar had an interesting debate along the same line. And I think one side handed it to the other in that. But
well,
we'll play that in the fun half.
The coverage is basically that she did really well in this debate. That's seemingly the media spin from this. So Brett Baer is pissed off. This is what he said on Sean Hannity that night. Oh my gosh, she was 20 minutes late for the interview. I mean, he acts like she spat in his face here. I mean, I've covered campaigns. Politicians are late probably 90% of the time.
Yeah, you should have some. I mean, we don't do a lot of politician stuff here, but you should have some sort of backup.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's kind of like a rule. When you go to a concert or a big concert like that, you're like, okay, they're probably going to come out 30 minutes later than they say they're going to come out. It's same expectation for a politician. But Brett Baer needed to whine on Fox last night.
Yeah, obviously, thanks, Sean. It's great to see you. It was a little tense. We were given the time of 5 p.m. Eastern time. Obviously, my show is at 6 p.m. They wanted to tape at 5 p.m. We said we were going to tape as live. In other words, roll the tape and then just turn that around unedited, uninterrupted, and but we had to do it before 5:15. Otherwise, we couldn't turn the whole machine around before the top of the 6 p.m. show. So
like the Titanic.
We were waiting at 4:55, and then 5, and then 5:05, and then 5:10. At 5:17, the vice president walked out. So it did feel a little bit like they're icing the kicker or trying to. And originally they were talking about 25 minutes, and they gave us 20 minutes. And I was fine with any time. I was really happy to get the interview.
He's the Adam Vinatieri of...
Yeah, obviously...
What? Are you joking? Are you joking? Trump is notoriously late all the frickin' time. I'm sorry, but if you thought that you did well or she came off poorly in that interview, honestly, he would have had something better to say.
I was worried he was going to say, then they made us do edits, but no, they let you just play it out as it was live. And this is all just him saying like, oh yeah, like you said, I got worked and I need to make an excuse for it, but you are not Adam Vinatieri. This is not a Super Bowl game-winning kick. This is your job as a journalist.
Yes.
I'm sorry if Fox News, I don't know how much $1 billion in revenue that they make. Turn the interview around, all right? We can do that. Left Reckoning, we often...
Matt, wait, okay, so we'll do a pre-record in the morning. How long does it take for you to cut it up so that we can put it out for the show?
You know, we're limited by the 8-core processor we have here and the video card, but probably 10 minutes, I would say, to export that.
When we do pre-records, and if the pre-recorded guest is like 10 minutes late, honestly, it's basically an assault on our democracy and on our integrity. As
they're icing the kicker, clearly.
Clearly. They're just so worried about what we're going to say. So yeah, that was a good interview for her. Again, a lot of this is still within this context of like trying to fight back this notion that she's too liberal. But actually, Sam and I were talking about this over the long weekend, and I forgot to make this point. Somebody, and I'm not going to be able to credit them because I don't have the tweet in front of me. Maybe I can quickly grab it here. But they made this point that I just think is exactly right about that perception of Kamala Harris as too liberal. Here we go. I found it. Austin Allman made this point. It is not unreasonable that the Harris team is worried about polling that says people think she's too liberal. The problem is they do not seem to understand that those views are largely detached from policy, and working overtime to change them in 3 months has exacerbated her actual biggest weakness, which is that people think she has no vision and believes in nothing. And that's exact summary, right? Like I'm want to be as progressive as you can when you talk about policy and what is possible and pushing for those kinds of things. I'm an election pragmatist and I want the Democrats to win. That's always been the way that I've approached this kind of thing. But this is the exact right point about what the strategy has been post-convention. When people say she's too liberal, do you know what that means? She's a lady. She's black.
Yeah.
She's from California.
Cali.
Yeah, like that's it. And so what it's a misconception, I think, about what the real liabilities are here. And I still think it will have some effect. Like it is, she's gained with independents recently, and also gained with Republicans. So that's been the strategy, and those are high propensity voters. That's what they're banking on. But there could have been another way, and I think they just fundamentally misunderstand what the root of the too liberal polling concerns. To
that point, there's a better way of doing that strategy to this question, which is to say there's a lot of reasons people vote for Trump, despite having a lot of reservations about him, say religious people voting him because of they believe in pro-choice thing. Now, I'm not going to go after those voters, but go after that. There's a lot of people who vote for Trump because guess what? Like the people on the left, they realize like this is one office.
Right.
And like at a certain point, it's one or the other.
Remember Trump's 2020 election interference case? He pled not guilty, but only after making it clear that he, quote, had every right to do so. Ground News found 90 sources covering this with significantly less reporting from the right. And going through these articles, you can see there's no mention from conservative outlets of what looks like Trump's confession. Now, the left points this could be the very thing that helps Jack Smith finally convict him. This type of selective reporting is the exact problem we've been talking about with today's news. Rather than adding clarity to an already confusing election season and political landscape, the news can easily contribute to it. That's why we're longtime partners of Ground News. Their platform is designed for people who want to go beyond the headlines to deeply understand today's current events from every perspective. And with Trump and Harris often at the center of very selective reporting, I highly recommend following the news on the debate and the rest of their campaign here, so you can avoid being manipulated by the news you see and the news you don't. I think their mission directly aligns with what we try and do here on our show, plus they're independent and subscriber funded. But my viewers get 40% off their top tier Vantage plan. Go on to ground.news/majority or scan my QR code to compare coverage with context you can't find anywhere else. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.